Right, I'm here with Ron Dufficy. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about sectionals, so we can break them right down in terms of those punters out there who don't really know what to look for just yet, but are keen to get involved. Now, sectionals, they're a big part of a punter's arsenal these days, and that's mainly due to the accessibility of them. Things like the Punters Intel app gives great accessibility to breaking down sectionals. And I guess over the next couple of minutes, we'll talk a little bit about what to look for with sectionals, what exactly they are, and a few tips and techniques that you can offer punters in terms of what to look for when breaking down these sectionals.
Of course, look, first thing you do is you download the Punters Intel app and you'll fiddle around and look. Obviously, they've broken up into 200-metre sectional times, and probably if you save your early speed, your mid-race speed, and your finishing speed, there's three sort of blocks you could work with there. So, look, you could make it as difficult as you like with sectional times, or you could make it as easy as you like. I'd suggest as a starting point, you work on one meeting and just work out the sectional times for that one meeting, where it's all relevant, the same conditions, the same rail, the same, like I said, a wind factor or whatever. Just because a horse runs its fastest last 600 of the day doesn't mean it's good. If you've got no early speed, it's no good just to have late speed, because it all comes down to race shape, race pattern, and lots of things go into sectional times. Yeah,
I guess the next question we'll ask is in terms of why they're useful, and you touched on a little bit there, but it's almost like you can trust your eye to some extent, but it adds an extra layer, doesn't it? So sometimes your eye can deceive you a little bit in terms of if a particular win had merit, or if a particular run was maybe a little bit worse than what it looks to your eye.
Exactly. The eye, sometimes you trust your eye, and sometimes you pick up the sectional times and you say, well, the eye was wrong because they didn't go out as hard as I thought, made it harder for the back markers. The old saying is no speed, no talent.
Yeah, so are you somebody who looks towards the front end of a sectional, or are you back end, or are you middle of the race, or is it a complete package for you?
Well, it's a complete package, and every race is different on the day, and every track's different as well. So, like I said, if they go out hard and the back markers steam home, not all of those horses win because they got the best sectional. It makes it difficult for them if they come out steady, and these horses have got to get home over the top of them late with a fast sectional. So I looked at, obviously position in run is horses on the speed win a lot more races than horses off the speed. So horses that can take up a position and still finish off with a good sectional, it's always an advantage.
I think a good example of something where your eye can be a little bit deceiving was Performer's run in the Canterbury. It's a great example because sectionally it was an outstanding win because he's come home in some unbelievable time. However, once you look at the race as a whole, somebody might say, oh, the overall time was very slow, it was slow compared to the fillies race. However, he's come home in elite time. It was just the fact that they ran really slowly in those early stages.
Exactly right. And look, if you want to pull out a sectional star, it'd probably be a horse like Winx, who can run her sectionals over 800 metres. So she's a real sectional horse that can do anything, and that's why she's a champion.
Yeah, it's just that ability to sustain your sprint, isn't it? The more you look at sectionals, the more you find that those really elite, those Group 1 animals, it's their ability to sustain a sprint, as opposed to being the fastest horse. It's the ability to sustain that sprint over 600 metres, 800 metres, or potentially even further.
Yeah, and I suppose the more information and data we get into the system, the more relevant these sectional times are going to be. As Punters Intel and Longines get a big database together, so you should be learning about the sectional times now, because it's going to be more important come the future.
So the last thing I'll ask you about is some takeaways that the punters who may know what they're doing or may want to get into sectionals a little bit more, what should they be looking for if they're looking at a sheet of sectionals?
Well, I think they should be looking, obviously, for horses that have got speed for a start, like finishing speed, mid-race speed and early speed, but it's working out in your head that these horses can run sectionals, they can find out your race, get your speed maps, your race shape, and throw that sectionals in the middle of it, and then that's just part of a puzzle. We're working with a jigsaw puzzle, and sectional times is a big piece of it. You can make it as big a piece as you like. Personally, I like to look at the stage of the horse's preparation, where it's going to map, and then you look at their sectionals, how fast they can go, their times relevant on the day at their previous start. So the first thing you do is look at the horse's sectionals on that day. So if I'm looking at say a Hawkesbury 1,000 metre race they've run 56 seconds for 1,000 metres, that's nothing compared to Randwick fast times. So different tracks, different conditions, never ever use them in the same breath.
Yeah, I guess the interesting thing about punting too is that there's always no right or wrong way. So
That's
once you
right.
find your little niche, something that I particularly look for is a horse maybe first or second up, and they run a big sectional from the 6 to the 4 or 4 to the 2, and just that fitness just gives out at the end of the race, and you know next time that they'll be able to sustain it just that little bit better.
And especially if there's a pattern to say that horse can do that as well.
Yeah. All right, well, hopefully you got something out of that, everyone. If you haven't yet downloaded the New South Wales Punters Intel app, jump onto the Google Play Store or the App Store and definitely check it out.